Do you ever wonder why the National Guard was not deployed to the Capitol on January 6, 2021? Now, if you've watched my past videos, you know that I've shown how the Capitol Police, who had a budget of about $500 million in the year 2020, they failed to set a secure perimeter until after the riot. We actually see Capitol Police officers opening doors of the Capitol and removing the gates to allow Trump supporters to penetrate the perimeter. We know that there was a stand down order given by the assistant to the deputy chief of police, ordering the Capitol Police not to use their most sophisticated, less than lethal weapons for crowd control. But the National Guard, why was the National Guard not deployed? Well, there's 4 men that are responsible for requesting the National Guard, and these 4 men make up the Capitol Police Board. Michael Stenger. Michael Stenger is the Senate Sergeant at Arms. He's no longer there. He was the chairman of the Capitol Police Board. And then you have Stephen Sund. Stephen Sund was the chief of Capitol Police. He's no longer there as well. And the chief of the Capitol Police was also on the Capitol Police Board. And then you have Brett Blanton. Brett Blanton is the architect of the Capitol. He's also on the Capitol Police Board. And then last but not least, Paul Irving. Paul Irving is the House of Representatives Sergeant at Arms, and he takes his orders most directly from Nancy Pelosi. He's no longer there. These 4 men make up the Capitol Police Board. Now take a listen to this testimony.
Yes. So why did you believe that you needed the approval of Mr. Irving and Mr. Stenger to request assistance to the National Guard?
That's always been the case. We only requested the National Guard for very specific events, usually the inauguration, and that requires a declaration of emergency from the Capitol Police Board to utilize those resources.
Do you know if there's a statutory requirement for that?
I could look into that and get that to you as a follow-up if you'd like.
I don't know that there is, but I do know that if you get the approval to expand the perimeter and you don't have the assistance to do that, that's obviously a problem. So Mr. Irving and Mr. Stenger both, let's start with Mr. Irving. Why was the request for National Guard assistance not approved at the same time you approved the expansion of the perimeter?
Senator, I did not take the call from Chief Sund on the 4th as a request. Chief Sund called me to tell me that he had received an offer from the National Guard to provide us 125 unarmed troops to work traffic control in the perimeter of the Capitol. Shortly after that discussion, I said, let's include Sergeant at Arms Stenger as chair of the board and another senior official with quite a bit of experience. The 3 of us talked it through. And during that call, the number 1 question on the table was, did the intelligence support it? Did the intelligence support that additional offer for those 125 troops?
Did you discuss this with anybody except Sergeant Arms Stenger and Chief Sund?
No, it was just this one phone call. And during that call, we all agreed that the intelligence did not support the troops and collectively decided to let it go.
Understand that this is the House Sergeant at Arms. 3 days before January 6th, we know that he got an intelligence report that told him that there was going to be violence at the Capitol, and Congress was the target. We also know that AOC was receiving text messages from members of Congress a week before January 6th, telling her that there was going to be violence. But you just heard the House Sergeant at Arms say that he met with the Senate Sergeant of Arms and with the Chief of Capitol Police, and they decided together that there was not enough intelligence to request the National Guard, is what you just heard him testify to.
Call. And during that call, we all agreed that the intelligence did not support the troops, and collectively decided to let it go. Michael Stenger then said, how about we put him on standby just in case, and that's what we ended up doing. But from what I remember, everyone was very satisfied that we had a robust plan, security plan, that was consistent with the intelligence that we had at the time.
Mr. Irving, you said in your testimony that when asked for National Guard assistance, you approved it. Mr. Sun stated that he asked for the National Guard assistance at 1:09, and you approved, it was approved at 2:10. Why would it take an hour to approve National Guard assistance on your part in that moment of crisis? Mr. Irving.
Senator, from my recollection, I did not receive a request for approval for National Guard until shortly after 2 p.m. when I was in Michael Stenger's office.
Let me get that straightened out. Mr. Sun, do you know when you asked for National Guard assistance? Was it 1:09 or was it 2 p.m.?
It was 109, sir.
1:09. And who did you ask for assistance at 1:09?
It was from Mr. Irving. I believe he was in the company of Mr. Stenger at the time as well.
And Mr. Irving, why would you not remember that?
Senator, I have no recollection of a conversation with Chief Sund. At that time, I was on the floor during the Electoral College session, and my conversation with Chief Sund in that time frame was shortly before 1:30, when I recall he was describing conditions outside as deteriorating. He may in fact be submitting a request, and I carried that forward, and that was as much as I can tell you. I have no phone record of a call from Chief Sund.
Did you discuss that request at 1:09 or whenever you got it with anybody else, or did you and Mr. Stenger make that decision then?
No, I did not get a request at 1:09 that I can remember. The first conversation I had with Chief Sund in that time frame was at 1:28, 1:30, and in that conversation he indicated that conditions were deteriorating. He might be looking for National Guard approval and approval of our mutual aid agreements with local law enforcement, and I went to Mike Stenger's office awaiting an update.
Well, this is a time, Mr. Irving, I'm sure my colleagues will want to follow up on this because I'm out of time, but that's a time when the difference in 1:30 and 2:10 or 1:09 and 2:10 makes a big difference.